Well, everybody, we are officially back from the ban.
They want black to keep the cycle on and white to hate themselves. So can't you tell they want us all in camps and both to stay in jail? Don't let us fail.
Yeah, it's like those Twitter accounts that have popped up that are like, yeah, I'm a she, her, gender neuroqueer who advocates for, rights for crabs. And you're just like, is this real or fake? I don't know.
Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
As usual, the show is brought to you by Elevate Farms. Elevate Farms is a technology and IP-based indoor farm that produces traditional farm-grown equivalent products at wholesale market price with a global footprint. Go to Elevate.Farm for more information. Savanah Hernandez is a producer for Slightly Offensive on Blaze TV and also a political commentator. She hosts a podcast called Rapid Fire. An0maly is a Billboard charting hip-hop artist as well as a political commentator with over 250,000 YouTube subscribers. They both join me today. How are you guys?
Fantastic.
Doing great. Thank you for having us.
I love both of you guys. Thanks for coming on. First thing I want to talk about, An0maly, this song you've got with Bryson, off the charts, literally on the charts, I guess. What's the feedback been like? I love the song. Anything to report on the chart status? What kind of feedback are you getting?
Yeah, well, thank you for being real quick on it because we just hit the Billboard charts today. So I like that, Billboard charting artist. But we hit number 2 in digital rap sales in the US, number 3 for R&B and rap sales, and then I believe number 16 for all genres sales. So that was 3 different charts this week. It's been great. I mean, that's a nice accomplishment, to have. So that was awesome. The feedback's been great. And it's just cool that we can compete with mainstream artists with a smaller budget, pretty much no budget. I know that we're pretty much both self-managed and stuff. So that was awesome and pretty excited about that. It just happened. So thank you for being quick on the news. Rebel News, they're right there, right on the spot.
So what kind of... why do you think there's such like a clamoring for this sort of stuff? We've seen Brevner up here, 300,000 views in a couple weeks on his video. We saw Bryson go to number 1, Let's Go Brandon, all that stuff. Why do you think there's such, a void being filled now?
Right. 2 reasons. Well, I think half the world or more than half the world wants something real, and not everybody is like the authoritarian left that they're pushing now under the guise of liberals. So you have more than half the world looking for something that the major corporations are afraid to do. Everybody's pandering to this very small minority thought group that isn't popular anymore, and it's getting less popular. That, and also I think rap, when I listened to it, it was rebellious counterculture. That's why we liked rock and roll rap. And nowadays you got Eminem. I mean, great talent, inspired me when I was younger, but he's like rapping about, wearing masks and, like being afraid of coronavirus or somebody coughing on him. And it's like, it's just so not cool. So, my favorite rappers that I like, I mean, some of them are still cool, but I feel like they can't really figure out what to do anymore. The old thing that everybody's doing is getting stale, and people want something fresh and real. And fortunately, they've left such a massive void, and it's easy to fill by just being honest and authentic, which I guess everyone's like afraid to do now, or it's not trendy, or maybe they just don't know it. But I think those 2 reasons.
Savanah, you're in the place to be in Texas, of course. Why do you think there's a new wave of people coming in now, and there's a bigger possibility to sort of like blow up? I'm seeing this a lot up here, especially with the music and with podcasts and people speaking out now. Do you think sort of like the lockdown culture has allowed for a new wave of talent to come through, especially given how many people are trying to go be part of like, whether it's the comedy scene or the political scene in Austin, Texas, in that area?
100%. And I would just like to say congratulations to An0maly. I think that he's doing such a great job because there is such a huge wave of people that are hungry for the truth. I think I was listening to an old Drake song or some rap song, and it's basically rappers talking about, taking drugs, having all these hoes, making money, blah, blah, blah. And then you listen to An0maly and Bryson Gray, and their message is so different. And I really do think that there's this new culture of people who are so hungry for the truth because they realize how much the government has lied to them, because they realize how much celebrities and all of these media talking heads have led them astray. So when you have this new fresh talent and this new ideology coming forward, people are really hungry for that. And here in Texas, of course, we've always been I would say, one of the free states, you mentioned Austin. I was actually there this past weekend, and it is good because we are seeing a huge uptick in freedom here in Texas, a lot of people moving over here. But at the same time, we're taking in a lot of the Californians who are escaping and fleeing all of the bad policies that they voted into their state. So you go to Austin, Texas right now, it's essentially mini LA. You have homeless encampments everywhere, a huge uptick in rising crime. So it's very much this fight where Texas is one of the more free states. We are very outspoken here. We love our rights. We love our guns. But at the same time, we have all of these transplants coming in that are severely changing the culture here. Keep your eye on Texas because 2022, 2024 will, definitely see a demographic change here.
And from the left, real quick, I would say keep the oat milk. The oat milk lattes are good from LA.
They're delicious.
Everything else is bad. So, take the baristas.
It's funny you bring that up, An0maly, because I just drank an oat milk latte for the first time this week. It was delicious. I don't know why I've been sleeping on oat milk, but it's really good, guys. Go try it out.
That's all some of the few exports we still have to offer. But yeah, leave the policies behind, but take the latte.
Starbucks
100%.
just lifted their vaccine mandate, which was kind of surprising. But I'm seeing a lot of different companies saying, "Oh, now that the government will let us discriminate against you, we're not going to do it." I wanted to ask you guys: are you surprised that maybe you, An0maly, and others, of course, weren't invited to that America Fest thing? Like, I thought I was going to see Let's Go branded performance for sure. Are you guys surprised at how there was still like a little bit of gatekeeping at that event?
I'm not surprised. No, I mean, at this point, I'm grateful that I built my own audience, and it's like a power, not just in right-wing media, but even especially left-wing media, that I don't need anything. I like beaches. I like to exercise. These are things I could do anywhere. I'm pretty happy and content. But I think, that's just politics. And, I guess to be not controversial and just honest, I've worked at a lot of different places, and there's always gatekeeping. There's always drama. There's always that's just like a human nature sort of thing. So of course that politics is also in politics, but I think it drives me to go that much harder. I've always had a chip on my shoulder. I was really good at soccer growing up, and I felt like I was always, slept on, and that makes me go even harder. So in a weird way, I kind of like it, because now I'm like, oh, okay, now I gotta, it keeps me motivated and inspired to just, do great content and great work, great music, etc.
Savanah, did you want to comment on that?
Regarding America Fest and who's allowed to speak and who's not, I just think that we constantly see with these types of right-wing events that it's only the establishment, if you will, that is allowed to go and speak there. And that's an issue that we've had for many years here at these types of events with these types of organizations. And I would just say that's why the right loses, because they're afraid to bring on people that are controversial. And it often is those controversial people who are speaking the most truth that aren't afraid to deviate from the norm and who are actually calling out what needs to be called out in society today. So not surprising, disappointing, I would say, but that's the right wing. That's why we continue to lose, truly, in America.
I was a little disappointed as well. And speaking of, I wanted to bring up the stuff about Joe Rogan and Spotify in the realm of, censorship. Did you guys get a chance to do a little bit of dive into that letter that was sent to Spotify? Did you guys read about this?
Honestly, I didn't even read the letter because I didn't want to waste my time on it. I just waited for everyone else to expose that these 270 doctors and scientists weren't even that. One of them was a cannabis scientist. Are you serious? Are you kidding me right now?
Hey, that's real science. Trust me.
You guys want to bring? I think we have the article. Somebody wrote something on their Substack about that. We want to bring that up. I think I sent that before. It turns out, like you guys were saying, a bunch of college professors. Now, of course, they can be doctors, but it was like academic research doctors who have PhDs, some nurses. I think there was even some students involved. And then here we go. This is by Jordan Schatz. I don't know.
He crushes it too. He does great work. Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
I'm really loving the Substack stuff, though. 270 doctors called out Joe Rogan for the authors and letters, and vast majority of its signatories are not medical doctors. I think if we go down to the bottom, you get a little bit of a breakdown. So yeah, the Guardian.
I want to say real quick too that I think there were tens of thousands of frontline doctors who stood against the tyranny. So even if they were all doctors, in the medical field, I mean, 270 is not really that much. There were 10,000 plus counterculture doctors standing up against it. So.
And I think that Dr. Peter McCullough actually tweeted about how 16,000 plus doctors, they pushed back against that original letter calling Joe Rogan a menace to public health. So 16,000 plus actual doctors were like, oh, okay, we see your 270, we raise you 16,000 plus.
Right. It's a low number, 270. That's like 200. I've done shows with thousands of people. You know what I'm saying? Like thousands of people like me. It's like, I would hope so. Like, especially if you're Joe Rogan, that would be like 1 million people hate Drake, and it's like, and millions of people like him. Like, what's the big, 270? Like,
let's read this.
Cool,
50 PhD academics, 60 college professors, 29 nurses, 10 students, 4 medical residents, and a handful of science podcasters. I mean, we don't really, like, it could be anybody, but you're right, it's still not a big number. If we click on that link down there that's towards the bottom.
Can I disagree with Savanah real quick? I'm going to say that the cannabis doctor is the only real doctor there. I'm saying he's the most important one. No, I'm joking. I
would 1000% agree with you on that, because I'm like, okay, you know what? I see the health effects to it, but so this guy actually got ghost edited off because people found his social media profile. He has him pronouns in his title of his name, and he's an anti-fascist political theory nerd / cannabis scientist. So it's like, you know what? I respect the cannabis scientists out of that, but the pronouns and everything else, it's like, okay, you're showing off your mental illness a little bit. Come on, guys.
I need to know what what gender my strain is. That's why they got the hybrid. That's the he her collabo. You got the hybrids.
Scroll to the bottom.
Exactly.
This guy knows what he's doing.
We don't discriminate.
Just so we're clear, the producer's name is Andrew. I'm not talking to myself. It had actually go back up to where that list was. It had a link to.
He's talking to himself. He's a schizophrenic. Yeah. God.
It's the marijuana.
It's okay. We accept that in the modern day. It's 2022. We only want to prop up the mentally ill. So Andrew, you do you. We're very proud of you.
Yeah, we're proud, bro.
Thanks. I'm failing upwards.
Come a long way.
No, where they listed the what we were just looking at there was a link that was talking about the author. Anyways, the author is just like works for the Rockefeller Foundation, works for CNN. Yeah, there she is. Jessica Malati Rivera, Science Communication Lead in the Pandemic Tracking Collective. So she was
good Lord
created this COVIDtracking.com with the Atlantic. She's listed on the Rockefeller Foundation website, and she's also a CNN contributor. So that's just interesting, I thought, as the person who is like leading the charge of the letter, who she's working on behalf of.
I feel like being a CNN contributor actually takes away from your credibility, but good for her.
Did you see I think it was San Francisco Chronicle, they wrote an op-ed article saying why the state of California should be able to take your children away. And it's just like, it could be a joke. That's why I don't even know anymore, like Babylon Bee stuff. That could be like a Babylon Bee article, but there's literally like psycho fringe liberals writing articles like, hey, the government should take your kids away. And this is why, not to get on a soapbox real quick, but I think Republicans, conservatives in Canada, like they should just be honest and straightforward, because this is not a popular issue. Even recent polling, I saw a lot of Republicans like, 50-something% of Democrats agree with authoritarianism. And that's crazy. But that means that like 50% don't. So this is a huge issue to gain a lot of voters. They're going crazy. It's not normal or popular. And a lot of people only know certain things they hear on CNN or Fox News, and they're always fighting about the wall or something. And there's a place for that. But I think this stuff is like a real wedge issue that they could win on. So it's like, highlight these people writing articles. Like 5 years ago, they would have been taken for evaluation, but now they have, puffy jobs at like mainstream media conglomerates.
That's a good perspective.
Unfortunately.
For sure. I keep seeing, and the reason I brought up Canadian stuff earlier is partially because I keep seeing like some of you guys and then other people as well. I think they're waking up, to the question of Canada lately, whether it's, the Quebec fining people for being unvaccinated or something like that. But we also had this conversion therapy law passed. I don't know how much you guys have read about this, but I think the main problem here, I think, is when people hear conversion therapy, what goes in their mind is like a sort of like 1960s electroshock therapy. They're beating you at a camp or something, but it's actually not that at all. And I think there's an article we can pull up from CTV that basically explains it. It's a left-leaning outlet up here, but explains a little bit of what it is. And they get into how it's illegal. I think it was 30 days after it's passed, and it was just a couple weeks ago. Here we go. It's now illegal. Scroll down to the middle, I think. Conversion therapy. You want to blow that up a bit for our viewers south of the border. Conversion therapy, as it's called, seeks to change a person's sexual orientation to heterosexual or gender that's the key thing, or gender identity to cisgender. It can include seeking to repress someone's non-heterosexual attraction or repressing a person's gender expression or non-cisgender identity. So I think we all three of us probably agree that like you shouldn't like try to change a person for who they are. But in terms of like saying maybe you're not a different gender to, I don't know, like a 5-year-old, maybe you're not a bear, maybe you're not like a boy if you were born a girl, maybe that's going too far. And Matt Walsh, to circle back what I was saying, he tweeted a part of the actual the bill there, and I just wanted to go over a few of those thoughts. Click on that image for me. Oh, I guess we're cutting. Yeah, there we go. Changing sexual orientation to heterosexual, change a person's gender identity to cisgender, change a person's gender expression so that it conforms to the sex assigned to the person at birth. So you can't convince, I guess, a child to conform to the sex assigned to them at birth, gender identity, gender expression. Now, this comes with a penalty of up to 2 years in prison. And this goes back to like when Jordan Peterson was saying years ago, I think it was 2017, that this sort of stuff would soon be used against us. And everybody was like, no, don't be such a bigot. Do you guys see this as a big of a problem as I think that it is? Or am I talking to myself again here?
I'll be quick because I know, I was going to say, I know Savanah could go off on this. She's an expert, but,
go off,
Savanah. To be brief, Jordan Peterson was right. The slippery slope was real. As far as the gender stuff, they could just arrest you if you say your wife wants to change the gender of your kid and you say no, now you could go to prison. That's so dangerous. But even just on the gay stuff, even if it wasn't that, I think it's messed up because all of society is trying to make people gay all the time. Like they're trying to make kids gay, adults gay, tell you you're gay, you're bi. So it's just not fair that they could, try to make everyone gay, but then a straight person couldn't do the opposite. I mean, it's all bad, but definitely the gender stuff's the worst.
100%, especially because we're targeting our children with that. And if you look at the definition of this bill, what does conversion therapy, what can that even be defined as? Okay, you have a son and then you go buy your son a bear and then you put him in blue clothes. Is that considered conversion therapy because you're, making him convinced that he's a boy because that's what his gender actually is? So we're living through such an insane time where we're targeting the next generation. And why are they being targeted? Yuri Bezmenov, who was a KGB defector and propagandist expert, talked about how to subvert an entire country, to subvert an entire, people, you would have to target the younger generation. And then within a 15 to 20 year time span, you would see what that actually looks like. You would see the re-education of the children and of that next generation. And that's what we're seeing right now with these kids, with how confused that they're being with their gender, with just everything we're seeing in our universities. It's absolutely disgusting to me. And children shouldn't be targeted. If you want to be gay, you're 18 plus, go ahead and knock yourself out, but stop pushing it down everyone else's throats and stop targeting kids with this. It's disgusting.
What would you say to say crazy. Somebody, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, what would you say to somebody, Savanah, that says, I believe my child? Because a man in British Columbia has already been arrested for this last year for not adhering to his daughter's gender transition. I'm sure I'm getting a bit of it wrong, but he served jail time. They had a whole, media embargo on it. You couldn't talk to it. What would you say to somebody who's like, my child who's 8 believes that they're a girl. They believe strongly in it. I want to just, support them and let them be happy.
I would say to that, who is your child being influenced by and surrounded by? And, we can look at the education system. We can look at our schools. If you look at the percentages of children who now identify as the LGBTQIA, whatever sexuality, you'll see that there's been a huge uptick in that because they are being influenced by their teachers, by their fellow peers, by the media, by cartoons, for crying out loud. So I would ask that parent, who's really influencing your child here? And also, too, not everybody is religious, but I will point out that is why it's important to have some basis of religion, and that is why it's important to, have God as a part of your life, if you will. I'm a Christian person. I genuinely see that we've taken God out of society, and look at where we've gotten to. We now have children being raised as babies. They're super confused. Suicide rates are going up. Depression rates are going up. Drug use is going up. And this is just supposed to be normal, and we're propping up mental illness in society.
An0maly, where do you see this leading? What do you think the ramifications are as a society or an entire country when this stuff is being pushed? So I think it's pretty obvious that it's being pushed really hard.
I think it's already there. So now you could go to prison. Like, if your teacher, your kid's teacher is 6, 7 years old, she is far left and convinces him that he's something because he hears it 6, 8 hours a day. And you're the parent, you're supposed to be able to, take your kid out of school, say that you want a different teacher. This is what parents do. They're trying to take the parent out, and then they could arrest you. They could steal your kid. And this is so dangerous. It's already there. And where they're going is they just want to make it illegal for anybody to disagree with their authoritarianism. Like in America, the Rogan stuff, it's really just a way to say, if anybody opposes our regime, big pharma, big government, you are misinformation, you are hate speech, you are, like LGBT offensive, whatever they call it, homophobic. They're finding ways to put this in legislation to really just take your kids, stop you from ever questioning everything they're doing, from forced masking, forced injections, forced LGBT, like they can force it down your throat, but you can't do the opposite or even defend yourself. And I just pray that, conservatives here in America and Canada get smart, because I see this thing happening where they end up going further left to try to appease the middle ground. And, things that say, like Bryson Gray, who I did a song with, he has Christian opinions like a lot of people. And he's now, not allowed to play at certain events, and they kind of blacklist him in some ways because they find it too offensive. But his stance was a Hillary Clinton stance in 2000 and an Obama stance. So it's like they're now further left than Obama and Hillary used to be, and they think that this is a way to win, but it's really not. And I think even a lot of liberal and progressive parents are starting to realize how crazy the school system's getting and how abusive it is and how creepy it is. And it's starting to wake a lot of people up. So I pray that conservatives see this for what it really is and get smart, because, I hate to be a downer. I'm a very optimistic person, but I do believe that they want to put people in prison for a lot of things, for literally just being moral, honest, and a good parent. And they're going to keep passing laws like this to try to basically make it illegal to dissent from the authoritarian regime. And I mean, it's already slowly happening, but once again, the slippery slope is exactly correct. Christian pastors, Jordan Peterson, 100% right. And this is just further proof.
Yeah, I think we're pretty far down the slope up here in Canada. And
Andrew, before we get off of this point too, I just want to build on what An0maly was saying as well, and remind people that the FBI was used to target parents in Loudoun County, Virginia, because they had the audacity to speak out against what was going on in their schools, because they were speaking out against their children being read sexually explicit books and being taught sexually explicit things. So we have our intelligence agencies now being weaponized against law-abiding American citizens because they have the audacity to parent their children. So I just wanted to build up on what An0maly was saying with that point.
Right. And real quick, too, Rogan did this with General McMaster. He had H.R. McMaster on his podcast, and he actually mentioned the FBI in the Gretchen Whitmer plot when we were trying to protest peacefully against lockdowns around the country, just random people saying, man, this is a huge breach of power. There was this big kind of story that said, oh, there's people trying to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer, who's a governor, and that's really bad. And the media kind of used it at the time to make it seem like, well, anybody that's against the lockdowns might do something crazy like this. And then a story breaks in BuzzFeed like a year later that a lot of the people involved in that plot were FBI agents, and the people who hatched that plot were, and they were trying to convince, non-FBI agents to get in on it. And I mean, this is crazy, like targeting parents for stopping their kids from getting the Canadian type education, and then also kind of, creating or fueling a plot to really not make it look like anybody who opposes the regime is, an extremist. It's very, very creepy.
Yeah, one of those guys.
And I mean,
was
look what's going
too.
on. Sorry, Andrew. Sorry.
The Gretchen Whitmer
He was
thing. One
homeless?
of the guys was homeless, and then that also
They love a good homeless guy, right?
It also reminds me of Ray Epps. I'm going to go to jail for saying this, but we should storm the Capitol tomorrow, you guys. I love it so much. I wanted to.
And then they're defending that guy. I don't know if he is or not. Like, I almost low key, it would be hilarious if he's not, and everyone's just like shitting on this poor guy. But it's like he's the only one getting defended. It's like, dude, they're going after people who literally stood outside and didn't do anything at all, and they're trying to say everybody involved was a terrorist, any Republican, like everything. And it's crazy. It's like, dude, this guy's literally on camera saying that, and all of a sudden he's getting like defended by Adam Kinzinger. It's like, I'm not not really knee deep in this narrative because I feel like it's a trap, but that was kind of comical to me. I'm like, man, I wonder what it's like to get defended by all these people. That's a rare, he's a lucky guy, that Ray.
What were you going to say,
Look,
Savanah?
An0maly, the FBI investigated the FBI, and they said that they didn't have any involvement in January 6th. So please don't question it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I definitely trust that. Sounds open shot case.
An0maly, I wanted to give you a couple of W's here on air. If I were to think back the last year, 2021, the great inflation debate, turns out you were right about that one. And then the Trump vaccine debate. I just want to give you these public W's to say that An0maly, because I like giving people the credit when they've earned it. And I want to give you these public W's that you were right about these topics before I move on, which is...
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, I just want to say, I'll make it really brief. Thank you for talking about the inflation. I still get a lot of backlash to this day, but I mean, I don't feel that proud of being right about that because so many people get brainwashed by partisan politics and they just want their side to win. But with how much money they printed in 2020, and if you shut a company down for a weekend, it has massive economic damage. If you shut down the country for 2 months, print $9 trillion, funnel money to big pharma, CARES Act, it really wasn't a hard call. I'm glad you figured it out, but still to this day, people are like, you lost the debate. You think Trump helped cause inflation. It's like, obviously Biden sucks, but it's a bipartisan affair. Just like, Ron Paul will tell you it's been going on for, the last 100 years of trickle. 2020 was just down and then Biden's, nosediving into it. But sorry, I had to clear that up.
That's why I brought it up. What are you guys thinking, Savanah? Who's your 2022? What's your 2022 prediction? And who's your 2024 candidate to look ahead? Are we hoping Hillary comes back? I'm hoping Hillary comes back. What about you?
I'm even
praying
know.
for Hillary.
I'm not even focused in on 2024 yet. I'm looking at 2022 right now. I'm really hoping that Republicans are able to take back over the House, all that good stuff. But with that being said, I hope that we have Republicans who actually have a spine. We need congressmen like Joe Kent, America First type congressmen and women who are actually going to make a change, because I am so tired of these weak and spineless Republicans who refuse to actually stand up for the American people and their constituents. I used to be a big fan of Ted Cruz. And then last year he put up this post on his Twitter, and it was like, let's end the mask mandates on airplanes for the vaccinated only. And it was at that point that I was like, all right, Ted Cruz, no, you're done. And then he came out and said that, January 6th could be equated to terrorism. He's since backtracked from that. And now he's having to come down even harder and be even more right wing because the people are pissed off and the constituents are like, Ted, what the hell are you doing? Okay. So I really hope we have Republicans with a spine who will actually stand up for the American people. And then 2024, part of me wants to say, bring back Hillary. That would be hilarious. But the other part of me is like, look what happened in 2020. We are well aware of what the Democrats are able to do via our election systems. We all know that Joe Biden was the most popular president in history, which is why his polling matches that. Yeah, exactly. His polling, it matches beautifully. So, we've seen what happened in 2020. Do I want to live through Satan leading this entire country? Not really, but I guess Hillary could be fun in 2024. We'll see.
Well, to watch her lose, I want the debates again. If they're going to throw Trump back up there, then throw Hillary back up there for another hilarious 3 months or whatever it's going to be of television appearances. An0maly, I almost want to predict that you say it doesn't matter what happens in the midterms.
No. First off, I want to say I'm glad she brought up the Ted Cruz comment, because I think the terrorist one was poorly worded and everyone was on him. But perhaps even worse than that was when he was like, yeah, we got to get away. We got to take the mask mandate down for the vaccinated only. I'm like, this is the Republican Party, masks off for the vaccinated. I went off on him for that. I'm glad you saw that. This is electionbettingodds.com. I'm just on it. It's not obviously 100% accurate, but the betting odds usually tend to show where it's at. Republicans are a 71% favorite to win the Senate and an 83% favorite to win the House. So they're huge favorites in both now. I do think it matters. I absolutely do. I mean, I think the Democrats, if they controlled all levers of government and everything, I mean, we would be worse than Australia and Canada. Like, they're full-blown psychopaths. So despite what people think, I do think it matters a little bit. I just think, unfortunately, they always drop the ball. And I think it's like a two-part equation. It's not like just vote for them and hallucinate that they're the Ninja Turtles with a secret plan. And Mike Pompeo, has like a secret like code that only you can read if you go on 8chan. I'm not trying to be mean, but like, I think it's like a two-part equation: vote for these people, but also hold them accountable. And I do think that Alex Jones has been on it, a lot of people, but the criticism of Trump and his nonstop booster sales has made him kind of back off it. And I think, I don't want to be dramatic, but I think he is starting to wonder why DeSantis is getting more popular. It's because of this issue, no question. It's an open shut case. So, I hope that they definitely do their job. I do think it matters. I hope that they win, but I also hope that the base doesn't kind of rally against it. And I have to say, for 2024, Hillary would make me a little nervous, because if Biden could win, anybody could win. This guy, I would say Hillary, Biden makes Hillary Clinton look like Kate McKinnon, who pretends to make Hillary look cool. It's like, he's such a loser that if he could win, anyone can. And, I would like to see DeSantis, Rand Paul, even Ted Cruz, even though I like him less than Trump, I think that even him as a president, people don't like him and suck up to him so much. So they would watch his move. And I think Ted Cruz would kind of follow the base and get a lot of backlash. Trump kind of makes me nervous, because there's such a idolization around him that so many people think it's okay to act like, nothing he says matters because he's giving codes and he's got a plan, where people know Ted Cruz doesn't have a plan. So I feel like people would be on him and he would shift. It's kind of creepy to me, because I even say this a lot of times too. If me, Savanah, any big Instagram influencer, any Republican, if we did half of what Trump did over the last year, people would think we were liars, this and that. But he kind of can get a pass from most people, not everyone, because he has this. So it's if he's going to act like 2016 to 2018 Trump, I would get behind him. But if he's going to act like Trump now, I'd rather another Republican win that people don't like, so that the base can really rally behind them. And even Glenn Youngkin, he was going to flop on the mandates, and people, we're powerful now. The base is huge. It's real. There's tens, if not hundreds of millions of people. The base is right. The base knows what's going on. They like freedom. So, when people do corny stuff like Ted Cruz or Glenn Youngkin, they know it, and they start to move. So I hope that, people figure that out, that Trump should be treated like that. And if people can't, then I think it's a red flag.
I gotta get a picture of an 8D chessboard behind me, I think, for my background. I have to move us behind the paywall so we have time for this last segment, which I really want to get to. RebelNewsPlus.com, you guys. You can see the full episode with myself, Savanah, and An0maly. We're going to take some spicy stuff behind the paywall with vaccine mandates and lockdowns and creepy children. So RebelNewsPlus.com for just $8 a month, or you can save 2 months if you pay for a full year. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching another episode of Andrew Says. To get the full version of the show with bonus segments, go to RebelNewsPlus.com and sign up now.